Hello. How is everyone? It has been a busy week. Is this working? Yes. Okay. I think this is gonna be the last stream of WIL. I don't remember what we're playing next. But if this is the last one, then hopefully the ending's good. I've been enjoying the game so far. The sun is very bright today. I guess we'll just jump right in. As soon as I say that, the cat needs to leave the room, apparently. Oh. Give me a sec. Come back in if you leave. There, leave me alone. Okay. Apparently it was food time for him. Okay. So, looks like we had a timer last time we had to deal with. And so many letters. Okay, let us do Carlos first, as I can't click anything. Carlos. I can't find Carlos. Okay, looks like this is the last one for Carlos. Okay. We were heading towards the port in a black sedan driven by Yi. She had received reliable information that Mr. Len had some business at the warehouse there tonight, and oops. There you go, you can hear the music now. And should be able to see him. Before heading out, Yi had prepared all kinds of weapons, even some hand grenades. She said I had already become an enemy of the Black Dragon Gang, and showing up like this after escaping prison was practically committing suicide. If I insisted on going, we had to be prepared, but all of the weapons were too difficult for me to use. It took me forever to figure out how to use a handgun, not to mention the others. So in the end, I decided to only take a gun with me. No matter what happened tonight, I had to take this opportunity and get an answer from Mr. Lin. We were about 1 kilometer away from the port. If I let you out, you stay out. Shush, go lay down. Well, apparently my roommate is taking a shower. Oh well. We were about 1 kilometer away from the port when Yi stopped the car. I opened the door. To be honest, I wish you wouldn't leave me. Yi grabbed at my clothes. There was barely any human traffic around here. Nothing except a group of trees nearby. It felt a little creepy indeed, but I have to go. How about I leave you the gun? You idiot, that's not what I mean. I mean, her face became red. For some reason, my heart was suddenly beating faster, and my face was getting red too, even hot. I even felt my hair perking up. Was this what they called love? Yi pulled her hand back into the car. I'll be waiting here. Then she rolled up the window. I stared at her from the outside, nodded my head, and walked towards the port. No matter what, I must come back in one piece. I had so many things I wanted to tell her. Halfway to the port, I heard a strange sound of birds chirping. It didn't sound like regular birds, and I began to worry about Yi. I ran back to where the car was. The black sedan was still there, but the driver's side door was wide open, and there was no one inside the car. I saw a few drops of blood on the ground near the door. I got into the car and started the engine. I was driving at the highest speed possible. I went through every single road and alley I could find nearby, but I couldn't find any other cars or people that looked suspicious. The sun had come out, and I still couldn't find Yi. In the end, I didn't see Mr. Lin at the port, and I had lost Yi. She was gone just like that. There were too many people who had reason to harm her. It could be an enemy of the Blood Gang, or it could be someone who had a personal grudge like Mr. Curran. It was all my fault. I should not have let her wait for me there. Lord, please bring her back to me. That was a short letter. I didn't hold a funeral for Zuko. The night of his death, a man and a woman in blue tracksuits came over. They told me that they had been his long-time designated body handlers. There was no sign of grief on their faces. They had moved his body into a body bag like it was business as usual. They unlisted and canceled the phone number. His favorite 3-month-old adult magazine was also thrown into the body bag and taken away. All that was left to me was Zuko's own credentials to his business app and all of the contact information from his informants over the years. He seemed to know that I would need all of this one day. In one night, it was almost as if this person had never existed. It was like magic. Well, it befitted the style of a magician. I didn't wait until the next day. I followed the lead that Zuko had given me and contacted multiple informants of his, quickly locating the address of the man who had delivered the bomb to my house. Vengeance was not my only purpose. Another thing that had caught my attention was the small item that Zuko had taken off the bomb. It was such a unique item that I recognized it instantly. There was no mistake. I had made something similar to this over a dozen times myself. I couldn't be more familiar with the technique. When he came back from the laundry still humming a tune, he didn't notice my existence at all. After he'd given the password to his contact system, assassin number 7, one of my younger colleagues, lay on the floor with a hang covering his slit throat. He was looking at me with a face full of regret as I sat in his computer chair wearing his baseball cap. I lit a cigarette. Memories were flooding through me. Ray never smoked. He never smoked. He said smoking would make a person dull, so he always had a bottle of gum with him, and he would take one whenever he needed to be alert. I had eventually developed the same habit after spending so much time with him, but now I pursed my lips, watching the white smoke, leaving my mouth twisting in the air and disappearing. Those memories of us should disappear just like the smoke. 2 a.m. The other side finally logged on. Mission accomplished. Did she say anything? Not exactly, but she had something she wanted me to pass on to you. In 3 days, 4 a.m., Warehouse 5, at the port. As he logged off, Zuko's app buzzed. There was a new order and the payment was good. Coincidentally, the target of this order was the same person that I was going to meet. The wind tonight felt unusually cold. Ray had just finished his business and had sent away his men. He was standing under the streetlight in front of Warehouse 5 by himself and had just put a piece of gum in his mouth. The fallen leaves were swept up into the air by the wind and blown towards where it was hiding. He looked up. His eyes squinted. His mouth curved into a perfect arch. It was the same expression he had on his face every time he saw me in the past. I turned my head and looked away. I knew it was just a trick that he was using to play me, but I just couldn't force my finger to pull the cold trigger. A gunshot. I wiped away the tears. I was leaning on a rock near the dam, facing the ocean, with Ray's coat over my shoulders. My mind was slipping away from me along with the warmth as it slowly left my body. In Mexico, on the other side of the ocean? No, I didn't think that. Is Mexico on the other side of the ocean? No, I don't think it was in the right direction. The ocean is so dark. When is the sun going to come out? Carlos must be in class right now. Maybe school is almost over. Is it snowing? No, it couldn't be. I must be dreaming. Must be. Heavenly Father, please take me to him. Don't let me wander in the wilderness alone, please. We just got an achievement for finishing Carlos's profile. I think this will give us the S ending for Carlos. I couldn't make my shot as tears blurred my right eye. 2 gunshots. I wiped away the tears. I was leaning on a rock near the dam facing the ocean, with Ray's coat over my shoulders. My mind was slipping from me along with the warmth as it slowly left my body. Is this the exact same? It looks like it is. Okay. But I have to go. You idiot, that's not what I mean. I mean, her face became red. For some reason, my heart was suddenly beating faster, and my face was getting red too, even hot. I even felt my hair perking up. Was this what they call love? Yi pulled her hand back into the car. I'll be waiting here. Then she rolled up the windows, but I put my hand on the closed window. Wait. I had noticed something in the nearby trees earlier. It could be just some animals, but it could also be someone following us. Yi was the princess of the Blood Gang. I couldn't leave her here by herself. I walked around the area for a little while after Lee had driven away, making sure nobody was following her. I waited until there was no more unusual rustling in the trees, and then continued walking to the port. I was walking so slowly, all I could think about was Yi. I didn't even notice that it had started snowing. It was almost daytime when I finally arrived at the port. Mr. Lin was nowhere to be seen, but there were some people who looked like nearby residents gathering near the dam and talking about something. I vaguely heard something about dead and woman. I ran over, pushing through the crowd to get to the front. When the last person was out of my sight, I saw it. A most beautiful woman was sitting next to the dam. She had long and curly maroon hair. Her magnificent eyelashes were covered with snow. There is a little black lamb under the tree, and his name is Billy. I started humming the song she used to sing to me and sat down next to her. I was shaking when I grabbed her hand. Then I just sat there watching the ocean with her together. So it looks like we actually, looks like we need to get Alicia's story right to get the S ending for Carlos. Two gunshots. Its bullet grazed my left shoulder, and mine went through his right eye. I stood upon the dam facing the dark ocean with Ray's coat over my shoulders. I could still feel the final warmth from his body. Eventually, it was gone. Zuko's app had just received another order. It seemed quite dangerous. I threw his coat into the air and let the wind carry it into the ocean. I set my destination for the next target. Time to go. Wow, that is brave. I was walking so slowly, all I could think about was Yi. I didn't even notice that it started snowing. It was almost daytime when I finally arrived at the port. Mr. Lin was nowhere to be seen. There were only a few fishermen arguing about whether they should still go fishing in the unusual weather. I turned around. All of my earlier footprints had been covered by the snow. Wow, the snow fell quick. It was white all around me. Suddenly, I couldn't even remember which direction I had come from. Nor did I know where I should go next. I had missed another chance to find my sister. I was such an idiot. Still, no news must be good news too. I still had plenty of time to keep looking for her. Or was I being too hopeful? No, being hopeful was a good thing. Alicia used to tell me that all the time. I should keep being hopeful. That would be the right thing to do, right? Big Sis must still be out there somewhere. Perhaps she is watching the same snow as I. I don't know how to get the ending that they meet up. Let me see. I don't... Maybe I have to get a... What if I got two bad endings? No, that doesn't look like it changed. Alicia's. I sent E away in her black sedan and immediately ran to the port. It was almost daytime. There was no fishermen around yet. And everything was so quiet at the port. Warehouse 5 was located at the corner on the outskirts of the port. I could already see it in the distance. Then I heard a loud gunshot coming from that direction. When I finally got there, I saw two people in the dam in front of the warehouse. One was standing with Mr. Lin, who I hadn't seen for over half a year. He was still holding a gun in his raised left hand. The other one on the ground was a woman. She had long and curly maroon hair, and she was laying motionless in a puddle of blood. It had been years since I've last seen her, but I could still recognize her in a heartbeat. I couldn't understand what had happened and why it was happening right before my eyes. My brain had gone completely blank. In the numbness, I raised the gun he had given me. Well, I don't know how we get the ending where they meet each other. So we're just gonna move on before the time runs out. My name, is Spotty. I can't remember how long I have been alive. For many years, my life was the same. I looked for food at the shops or in the trash. I laid in the sun. I looked for food again, and I found a place to spend the night, day after day, year after year. Although there was one thing that was different. I had been getting older. I was walking alone along a small path in the suburbs. I came across an empty lot. There used to be a gathering place for the homeless cats around here. Not too long ago, it had been circled by some yellow tape. I heard that some rich Chinese real estate developer had bought the place, and along with a whole lot of old residents around here. Soon they would begin to build a brand new shopping center. It didn't really matter to us anyway. There were plenty of other spots for the cats. Besides, the cats that used to hang around here had rarely been seen anymore. Most of the cats who I was familiar with had died in random corners of this big city. Unlike house cats, we had to pay the ultimate price for our freedom. Life in the city was brutal and challenging, and most of us were forced to say goodbye to this world before we even turned 3. The few others like me who were fortunate enough to survive for more than 10 years would barely walk too far nowadays. Sometimes cats like us might even slip and fall into a toilet when they were drinking from it. As my body kept getting slower, my mind, however, seemed to be getting more active. I've been spending more and more time thinking about my cat life recently, especially about my old dear Daddy and all the lessons he had passed on to me. Daddy had always been so good to me. Many of the things he had taught me were still so valuable even now. I used to think I could stay young forever, but I had reached the same age as Daddy when he had found me. Daddy had mentioned that he used to be a house cat once, and he was one of the incredibly lucky ones. He was adopted soon after birth by a rich couple and was living a dream life. He never had to worry about food or shelter, and the humans adored him too. Soon the couple had a family with a cute daughter. One day, the male took Daddy to a park for a walk. That day, he met a breathtakingly beautiful orange tabby. Daddy was immediately smitten. He used every trick in the book to get his humans to take him out for walks just so he could see her. Maybe God had blessed them as they were able to get together more and more often. At last, on the edge of the roof of his human's apartment, he and his tabby spent a whole loving night together, harmonizing the most romantic nocturnes even known to cats, maybe even humans. While Daddy was enjoying his love life, his home life had abruptly turned upside down. His loving family of humans collapsed. Endless fights and quarrels. Smashed dishes and plates every single day. Daddy's fate took a cruel turn on the 10th day after the male human had left. He was standing next to his bowl, which had been empty for over a week, and meowed in hurt and hunger voices at the female human in the kitchen. She finally exploded and threw the burning hot pan filled with boiling soup at Daddy. That was how Daddy lost all of his sight. He never saw his orange tabby again, and he never went back to that dreadful place which he once called home. When he found me in the trash pile at the market, the first thing he told me was to never trust humans. I used to feel puzzled about how Daddy ended up like this. However, a few years after Daddy had passed away, I accidentally gathered enough pieces to pick together the puzzle of his fate. That same night, when Daddy had been enjoying his time with his orange tabby on the roof, his male human was doing the exact same thing with the female human of the orange tabbies in the bedroom of Daddy's home. Maybe it was because the male human had been too careless, or maybe the female human had been suspicious for a while, or it might have been because the cat hair that Daddy and the tabby had left around while they were playing. For whatever reason, the human was soon out of the bag. In the human world, besides being in heat, they have things like morals, laws, relationships, and all kinds of nonsense. The female human probably was not allowed to kick and scratch the male human, so she turned against Daddy, who didn't have what they called human rights. Sometimes I wonder if Daddy had never met his orange tabby, would he still hate humans? 2 young male humans were walking towards me. I remembered them. They worked at the police station that I frequented for my drinks. When they started to pass by me, the younger one stopped before the other one with purple hair did too. I sat down and looked at them, hoping for something unrealistic. The younger human pat my head with his hand. I could smell the alcohol on his breath. Lieutenant, are you allowed to have a pet at your place? It's too bad that my apartment is not pet-friendly. The older man looked uncomfortable. Well, I'm not good with this kind of thing. Well, just as expected. When I was a few years younger, I would always put on a cute face and meow at the humans who petted me. Now, I knew for sure that even if I sucked up to them, no one would take me home. The two police walked further away from me in the other direction. There were fewer and fewer people on the road. Eventually, it was only me. At the end of the road, under a dim yellow street light, I saw a big human and a small one. The adult had a beer bottle in one hand, and the other one kept hitting the face of the crying child. I kept walking towards them at my own pace. I was just passerby. In this city, things like this happen all the time. No one would give it a second look, not even a cat. Just when I was about to walk past them, I suddenly realized the third person had joined the pair under the light from out of nowhere. It was a tall, thin, blonde foreigner in a blue blazer. He grabbed the collar of the drunk human, and then he started hitting him the same way that the drunk had just hit the kid in his face. The blonde foreigner, he reminded me of several blonde foreigners who used to live around here. They seemed to have disappeared slowly, one by one. I couldn't remember the last time I had seen any of them. The foreigner punched the drunk man. I heard the loud noise of a huge collision. A gray truck with its headlights broken drove past me, moving quickly towards the direction of the street light. The child stopped crying. The gray truck went past the scene of the fight without slowing down and quickly disappeared out of my sight. It was like life itself. No matter how hard one struggled and fought, life just kept going on and on. Meanwhile, we were getting older and older. Other than that, nothing ever changed. That being said, this blonde young human was an exception to mankind, at least. I sat down near the child and decided to enjoy this vigilante justice. The human stared blankly at the man being beaten. He mumbled something. 1, 2, 3. I pondered curiously for a while before I finally understood. He was counting the teeth that had been knocked out of the drunk man's mouth. Humans never really understood us. They thought we all liked being petted and tickled, and that all we ever wanted was dried fish and milk. Perhaps similarly, we never really understood humans either. A true understanding between us was probably something that we would never be able to achieve in our lifetime. I left these three humans further and further behind me. I kept walking ahead, looking for a place to spend the night. That was such a long letter. Truck. I wonder if Park's gonna take Spotty home. The foreigner attempted to grab the child before he was hit. Unfortunately, he was too slow. Under the streetlight, the child was lying in a pool of blood. The gray truck either didn't notice the accident or decided to ignore it. It didn't slow down one bit and quickly disappeared out of sight. The drunk man stumbled and ran away as soon as the foreigner left him alone. He left his son behind, or perhaps it wasn't his son in the first place. The foreigner sat the child down on the side of the road and ran after the man. Snow began falling from the sky. It wasn't the right season to be snowing. I felt the face of the child. It was already getting cold. If I stay here any longer, I would freeze to death myself. I left the child under the light further and further behind me. I kept walking ahead, looking for a place to spend the night. Okay. Let us try this one. Oh, under the streetlight, the blonde foreigner was lying in a pool of blood. A woman with short hair and 2 dramatic earrings jumped out of the gray truck. She spit out a few curses when she saw the gruesome scene and hurried back into the truck. She didn't even notice that a metal box had fallen out of her pocket while she was climbing back into the truck. The woman stepped on the gas as soon as she got into the driver's seat, and the truck quickly disappeared out of sight. The drunk man survived after the foreigner had pushed him away, but he had disappeared from under the light with the child and had been gone for a while. Under the light, a human, a cat, blood was still spilling out from underneath his body. I walked closer and saw a big, dark scar on the back of his neck. Daddy used to have a similar burn mark on his eyes. It reminded me of the rainy day when I lost Daddy and the accident that had taken him from me. Blood was spilling out underneath Daddy's body as well, and I could remember that there was a boy running out of the car that had killed Daddy. I suddenly recognized that this foreigner was born and raised here. I could not remember what his name was, but I could remember the scar on the back of his neck. He was the boy from that day. That was right, it was him. I still could not remember what his name was, but I could remember his mother had the same blonde hair as him, and they lived up the hill nearby. I could also remember that he used to buy me milk when he was a child himself. Ever since the day of the accident, I didn't see him again, until now. Snow suddenly began to fall from the sky. It wasn't the right season for snowing. I laid down on his bleeding leg, thinking that maybe this could help him a little. If someone else walked by, I could ask them for help. The air around us was getting colder and colder. The snow was piling up on us, thicker and thicker. My eyelids finally couldn't resist the exhaustion anymore. They were closing slowly. When I woke up, I thought I died, or maybe I was in a dream. I was lying on a human's bed covered with a human's sheet. Its owner was lying next to me, breathing steadily. It was a strange room filled with warm yellow sunlight. There were lots of thick books on the bookshelf. A globe was placed on the top shelf, and a room of lively-looking small wooden figures that lined up next to it. A light breeze came in from outside through the window. It had the distinct smell of a sunny day right after it snowed. It tasted a little cold, a little sweet. On the balcony there was a flower that I had never seen before. It was the color of fire, and it was waving lightly in the sweet breeze like a small dancing flame. The sunlight shone through the petals and cast a bright red shadow upon an unfinished diary that was open on the desk. Besides the diary, I saw a metal box with a blue curly carving. It was the same box that had been dropped by the short-haired woman. The human's blonde hair was shining in the sunlight. His calm, sleeping face seemed to be assuring me that this was just another normal and peaceful day. I still couldn't remember what his name was. I did not know where he had been or what he had been through all these years, but none of that mattered anymore. What mattered was I had finally found a place to return to. Aw, that was cute. Apparently there's one more achievement to get, and it is Let me play this. Okay. Let me look it up. Oh, we need to change the ending of... Nope. Which one? This one? Okay, this should be another achievement. Under the streetlight, the blonde foreigner was lying in a pool of blood with his face down. A woman with short hair and two dramatic earrings jumped out of the truck. Is this the same? Blood was spilling out from under his body. I walked closer and saw a big, dark scar on the back of his neck. Daddy used to have a similar burn mark on his eyes. He must be another polar soul with a past full of stories. He probably wouldn't survive with an injury like this. Besides, we didn't really know each other, and I was a homeless cat. There was nothing I could possibly have done. Snow began to fall from the sky. It wasn't the right season to be snowing. If I stayed here any longer, I would freeze to death myself. I left him under the light further and further behind me. I kept walking ahead, looking for a place to spend the night. Okay. Woo. Okay, looks like we have 2 more that we need to do really quick. Okay. The wind was strong, but I could barely open my eyes when I came out of Officer Mignon's home. I held the record in my hand as tightly as I could. It was my final lead that Officer Mignon had left for us. It was also the only evidence that could prove Lieutenant King's innocence. Lieutenant Kim had been behind everything the entire time. No wonder he wouldn't let me get anywhere near the case. I would never have expected that I would be living in a movie theater with traitors and the police force. I put the record in my back pocket. I put the recorder into the back pocket of my pants. When I sensed somebody looking at me from a nearby building, I looked up just in time to see a dark shadow moving away from the window. I had a bad feeling, so I started running. No matter what happened, I had to take the evidence to the police station and hand it to someone I could trust. On my way back to the station, there was a pedestrian bridge. On the other end of the bridge, there were some woods. I could see 9 amateurs hiding in the shadows of the trees, staring at me. One of them had turned off his flashlight. Their weakness was out in the open, so these were the people that Lieutenant Kim had sent after me? No, maybe they had been sent here to kill me. Perhaps the snow I had seen earlier in the windows saw me leaving. Perhaps the shadow I had seen earlier in the window saw me leaving, and they had realized that I might have something on them. Even still, these losers were no match for me at all. Fine, come at me. I might as well just send them all to jail. I stomped my right foot hard on the ground and dashed across the bridge in a zigzag. I heard 16 gunshots, but by the time the bullet casings fell to the ground, I was already hiding high up in the trees in the woods. Wow, you were speedy. The mob beneath me was panicking. After all, they were just a bunch of pathetic lackeys who had no formal training. Some of them were even stupid enough to turn their flashlights back on, exposing their positions. I had always thought that the police were a symbol of justice. Never would I have imagined that one day I would be fighting against them. But I knew better now. It didn't matter who the opponent was. What mattered was that justice will prevail. I checked again to make sure the recorder was still tucked safely in my back pocket. And then I held my tail in my hand. I leapt down from the tree and pounced. By who? On 3 men under the cover of the rustling leaves. These idiots all had their flashlights on. One was wearing a Hawaiian shirt, another and a pair of beach shorts, and the last one was in a leather jacket. All 3 of them fell, one after another. There were 6 other men nearby. I climbed back up the tree. I repeated the task several times. Soon I had taken several of them out. A bullet grazed me near my back pocket. I could feel the burn on my butt. I reached for my back pocket. I jumped down out of the tree. The ninth man was also taken out after I hit him in the same acupuncture point. The bullet had punctured my back pocket. The recorder I had put inside it was smashed into pieces and scattered all over the grass. Damn it, I was too careless. I thought it was the ninth man who had fired at me, but I realized that he wasn't even carrying a gun when I came down out of the tree. So there was someone else who had taken the shot. I looked around. I couldn't see any signs of a 10th person. Whoever it was, they must be someone good, and they might have already left the scene. Their only purpose might have been to destroy the evidence, not to kill me. They must have total confidence that even if I told someone about what I had witnessed and heard in person, no one would even believe me. Now I had lost my only concrete evidence. Damn it, how could I let this happen? I punched a nearby tree out of frustration. I hit it so hard I had a few bird nests fall out. Well then, I heard birds chirping in panic above me, the sound of their wings flapping. Please, Buddha, please guide me. If I could avenge Officer Ming-Yun, prove Lieutenant Kang's innocence, and defeat justice, I am willing to give everything I have. Okay. Oh, wow, we still have a lot we need to do with Chang. Okay, so we're gonna do one bad ending first, just so we can learn a little bit more about who these people are. Jump down. Okay. I felt my butt with my hand. Luckily, the bullet had only grazed my pants and didn't hurt me. Feeling a little relieved, I looked up to see where the bullet had come from. The moon peeked out from behind the rain clouds. The 10th person walked out from behind a tree 4 meters away. Moonlight shone through the trees and cast a spotty shadow upon his face. It was a face that resembled an old and cunning fox. He looked to be around 40 years old. His eyes and mouth was slightly bent, forming a ruthless expression on his face. Where is it? His voice was squeaky, a perfect match for his looks. Without saying a word, I flung my tail towards him, and it quickly wrapped around his right hand, which was holding his gun. The tail was wrapping more and more tightly around his wrist, but before I could force him to drop the gun, he raised his left hand to support the other. Then he pulled the trigger. I raised my left arm in front of my face. The bullet pierced through the skin and drilled into the muscle. However, it stopped next to my radial bone. I had put down my arm, but before I could see what was going on, the old fox had charged right in front of me. He poked 2 fingers straight into my eyes. A horrifying scream echoed in the woods. The birds fluttered and scattered as they flew away. I surrendered. I knelt on the ground and covered my eyes with one hand, while warm blood oozed out of them. I punched the ground, defeated. What you want is in the hole of the trunk of that tree over there. The old fox heard what I said, walked in front of me, and pushed his gun against my head. Oh, that's an easy place to look, thanks. A deafening gunshot exploded next to my ear. I collapsed to the ground. Blood was coming out of my mouth. I feel like leaving you alive would cause too much trouble. I always hated trouble. Who are you? I wanted to know before I died. Oh, me? I'm Ju Mingyu, the Musang Gang's next leader. And we got an achievement. Okay. This should give us the good ending. I felt my butt with my hand. Luckily, the bullet only grazed my pants and had not hurt me, feeling a little relieved. I looked up to where the bullet had come from. The moon peeked out from behind the ring. Excuse me. Give me a sec. Stop it. We don't need to be so loud. The 10th person walked out from behind the trees 4 meters away. Moonlight shone through the trees and cast a spotty shadow upon his face. It was the face that resembled okay. I surrender. I knelt on the ground and covered my eyes with one hand while warm blood oozed out of them. I pounded the ground, defeated. What you want is in the bird's nest in that tree over there. The old fox heard what I said and walked behind me to my left. He stood there for a moment and bent his knees just a little. The final piece of evidence was going to fall into his hands. or not. My tail morphed into a silver spear, heading straight towards the old fox's chest. Attack number 10. Heart-piercing spear. The old fox must have never expected that a blind fool could still fight back. He probably regretted not killing me when he had the chance. But its chance was gone. The tail went through his heart, and he could only let out a gasp, then fall to the ground. He was dead. I stood back up, wiped the blood off my face so that I could see a bit not well. Despite my mostly red and limited field of vision, I jumped up the tree and fetched the recorder from the bird's nest. I couldn't delay for one more moment. I could continue running towards the station, hoping that nothing else would go wrong. Oh no, we're running out of time so quickly. Okay. An exquisite sofa, a 85-inch TV, a high-end beige-colored wooden floor. Several bloody teeth were scattered on the ground. The morning sunlight shone through the window and bounced off those teeth. I was in a luxurious house that was in a graded community 20 kilometers away from the Busan police station. The house was also the home of a former colleague. Kim was crouched in the corner and his hands were tied behind him with rope. He hadn't slept the whole night, which left him with dark circles under his eyes. I'd only given him one choice: tell the truth about what happened 6 years ago and confess that he had been the rat. Until he did, I promised him that I would put him through a living hell. There were many parts of the human body that could be pulled out besides the teeth, fingernails, eyeballs, whole limbs. Compared to what my colleagues had suffered at his hands, none of these even compared. The only problem was that I might not have enough time. I heard a loudspeaker screech when someone turned it on outside. Lieutenant King, surrender now. You've been surrounded. We are here for you too. Let's talk about this. It was the voice of the sergeant from Unit 3. He was nothing but a useless, pretty face. About an hour ago, the police had surrounded this house. Those so-called lieutenants of Unit 3 rescue mission had been carried out by Unit 3 themselves. After 3 minutes of pointless negotiation, the sergeant sent in 4 of his units with assault rifles and smoke grenades, hoping to take back the hostage by force. What an idiot. 2 of those men were promptly kicked out and laid down by the wall, while the other 2 had jumped out of the window to escape. The room was a complete mess, as if it had been through an airstrike. The sofa and the floor were riddled with bullet holes. A tropical fish tank only had half a piece of glass left stuck to the frame. The exotic fish were lying on the floor that had been stepped on numerous times. They now looked vaguely like a bowl of Korean bibimbap. Of course, I was pretty sure that Lieutenant Kim wouldn't mind these minor inconveniences. I leaned my back against the wall and sat down beside him. I turned on the TV, which miraculously hadn't been hit even once. The news reporter was talking about some prison break that had happened at Hong Kong Central Prison. Tons of strange things had happened there. I remember that it had been almost a year since Hong Kong had been hit by a huge earthquake. Since the hypocenter of the earthquake had never been located, it had become a sensational piece of news all around the world. The reporting on the earthquake had gone on for over 6 months, lasting from when it first happened until the reconstruction. Eventually, it became quite annoying. The news today seemed much more intriguing. There happened to be a name that I knew in the fugitive list, Pi, who was infamous even in the global police community. He was someone who had a unique sense of justice of his own. He scared many perverted criminals. And the reporter said that Pi and his accomplices getaway car was found at a port after their escape, which meant Pi was very likely fled to some other country. Interesting. I lit a cigarette. The sound from the TV seemed to be dissipating along with the faint smoke. My thoughts drifted back to the past. I started to think about what was later referred to as the W620 incident. 6 years ago, I had joined Criminal Investigations Unit 2 as a rookie. I was the kind of person who talked about justice all the time, despite having no experience whatsoever. Come to think of it, if I had been exactly like Chang at the time, a new major had been assigned to the Busan police precinct to make a show of force. The new major announced an unprecedented campaign that was both bold and ambitious. It was called Operation White Bay. The goal of the operation was to clean up the violent gangs around the Busan Bay area and eliminate all of their illegal activities. If necessary, the police were given permission to shoot on sight if they felt endangered, and there would be no consequences. Back there, Busan gangs weren't even remotely as powerful as they would become. As a result, they went through the darkest period that they had ever faced. At least in less than 2 months, their operations had been reduced to 1/10 of their peak. W620 was the code name for the final mission during the whole operation. The mission was assigned to Criminal Investigations Unit 2, my unit. It was the night before the mission, and as a rookie cop, I felt ecstatic. I kept thinking about how I could finally be a defender of justice, to make sure the mission would go perfectly, and to show off in front of our beautiful lieutenant. I went to go scout the location alone without authorization, but my selfish and careless stupidity ended up exposing the plan of our entire mission. I will never forget the damp and dark room. The severed heads of my teammates were lined up on the floor in a straight line. Each of them had a different look on their face. Each of them had a stream of blood coming out from under them that had merged into a web of death and carnage. In the end, the only ones left was me and Lieutenant Jigel. I gave up all of my pride as a police officer and a man crying. I held onto our enemy's legs, begging them to spare the lieutenant, but they still murdered Lieutenant JL in a even more gruesome way, just to mock me. The moment she died, I blacked out. When I finally woke up, I was in a hospital lying down. Some strangers in suits were standing next to my bed. Everything felt like a dream, but it wasn't. W620 became a bloody lesson for every single police officer. Operation White Bay was immediately halted. The new mayor was sacked and replaced by an older officer. Under the command of the old man, the official records was that mission W620 contained but a single line. During a brutal conflict, the officers of Criminal Investigation Unit 2 violently sacrificed themselves and eliminated the remaining violent criminal members of the Musan gang. The only survivor of the incident was Officer Kang. To get the police precinct back on track as soon as possible, the old man instructed us to keep the name of Unit 4 and to set up a new unit, Unit 4, appointed me to be its lieutenant. I was in a slump for a while. I tried to avoid the old man whenever I could. I couldn't think about work, not even a little bit, until one day I was so drunk I passed out on the side of the road as someone grabbed me. I was kidnapped by a strong young man. He locked me in his house and interrogated and tortured me. He wanted to know the truth about W620, the truth about all those deaths, and the truth about how I was the only one who survived. But I didn't know any more than he did. I didn't understand why I was the only one who lived either. The only thing I knew was that I wished that I had died with them so I wouldn't be in so much pain. The torture went from starvation to dousing me in ice-cold water to whipping me with a belt. Slowly, my consciousness started to drift away, though I didn't know if it was due to hunger or pain. Eventually, I found myself standing in a small, dark room. There was nothing in the room except for a dim light bulb dangling in the middle of it. I met another man in that room. He was a head shorter than me. He had very messy hair, and eyes were filled with dangerous menace. He said his name was Young. He was 6 years younger than me, and he was the one who had killed those people who had hurt us. That was the first time I met my second personality. It was quite unbelievable, but anyone that had seen Young with their own eyes would not think that I had made him up. The strong young man met him and learned the truth, so he let me go. He told me that his name was Jigel. He was the younger brother of Lieutenant Jail. Eventually, the existence of my second personality became a top secret, only known by me, Jigel, the old man, and few other trusted individuals. That was the end of that story. Still, it was extremely difficult to completely heal the pain. After Operation White Bay was abruptly terminated, the gangs eventually came back into power. Jigel himself joined the Bumung gang and became a full member. Meanwhile, I agreed to accept the old man's appointment as lieutenant from the newly formed Unit 4. I set up many special rules for my unit. For instance, the lieutenant's orders must be obeyed at all times. Also, the unit would strive for the highest level of efficiency with only the absolute minimum necessary personnel. I never consider Operation White Bay to be a mistake. It was my fault. I should not have acted on my own without authorization. I was the only one and everyone else. Justice wasn't something you could just talk about. Justice that couldn't be defended was no justice at all. I made a scrapbook of everything I could find about the Operation Unit 2 and Mission W620. Every once in a while, I would look at the book and keep reminding myself what I had to do. For the past 6 years, I had been living through the memories of my colleagues and the guilt I felt for them. Then last week, I happened to notice the tattoo on the arm of a drug dealer in the Musang gang. There's only one photo left from Mission W620. I had seen that photo several times, and I could remember every single detail in it. At the scene where the mission had failed, there was police, medics, bodies, the crowd. There was one person in the crowd who had his back towards the camera. He had the exact same green python tattoo on his arm, and he was talking to Lieutenant Kim. 6 years ago, Lieutenant Kim had only been part of Unit 3 for less than 2 years. Still, he was senior to me. Although he was only a junior officer, he had somehow solved a number of cold cases, all but promoted to lead the entire criminal investigations department. Kim was naturally selected as the successor and became the new lieutenant of Unit 3. I suddenly realized that I had ignored one thing all along. Even if they had noticed me during my scout and followed me, they could have only had some idea of our plan at best. However, the enemy seemed to know every last detail of our mission's plans. The plan had been leaked by a rat on the inside, and I began to hunt for more evidence as soon as I had that breakthrough. However, Lieutenant Kim had somehow learned of my investigation as well, so he had to throw the first punch. The screeching of the loudspeaker pulled me back from my memories. King, are you crazy? Have you forgotten the oath you took when you were sworn in? The old man's voice echoed outside the house. How could I have forgotten? If it weren't for the oath and my remaining faith in the people with those uniforms and badges, I wouldn't have let Kim live until now. Nevertheless, it was time for it all to be finally over. I stood up and walked up to the closed curtain. I grabbed Lieutenant Kim by the collar. Bullets hit flesh. Lieutenant Kim fell to the ground in front of the window. A sudden breeze came through the window, blowing the curtains wide open. It was a perfect day for a sniper. I heard very unusual bird chirpings coming from a distance. It must be an operation signal. I put down my gun. Blood was gushing out of Lieutenant Kim's body. However, nothing happened after the signal. Perhaps they realized that whatever plan he and his men had cooked up was already too late. Tears were running down my face, but I didn't feel the joy of vengeance. Instead, I could feel my heart being drowned with a dreary emptiness. I suddenly saw my younger self from 6 years ago. I was at the police station. I gave salute and swore my oath. I will, to my best of my power, prevent all offenses against people and property. But pests were not people. The emptiness slowly turned into exhaustion. I high-fived young in the dark. I walked to the corner of the dark room and sat down. I lit up a cigarette. I no longer cared about anything that happened in the outside world. I didn't regret any decision I made. This was my justice. God, that was such a stupidly long letter. Okay, it looks like there's a bunch of different endings mattering on Chang's ending we have. So it should be a single these bullet there. And then we'll change King's ending and get the other S ending. The sniper shot from afar, destroying Lieutenant Kim's shoulder blade. My instincts had immediately pulled Kim in front of me as a shield when the window blew open the curtains in case there was a sniper. Otherwise, I would have been the one to get hit. The bird chirping must have been the signal for the shot. I pulled Kim up off the floor, then I grabbed his shoulder. I immediately stuck my right hand into his wound. He let out a scream of pain. Keep screaming. You'd better let everyone out there hear you. The sniper vanished almost instantaneously. It was complete chaos on the ground. It seemed like the old man had not ordered the shot. It must have been that stupid pretty face again. The loudspeaker buzzed again. I promise you I will personally supervise the investigation of Mingyun's case. You won't be detained, and you can be part of the team until we uncover the truth. Trust me, Lieutenant Kang. I could hear how sincere the old man was. Just from his voice, it reminded me of the time when he had handed me the appointment letter. If I had a little more time to find definitive evidence, Vince Kim, Lieutenant Jigel would have wanted that too, right? I sat down by the wall next to Kim and waited for the old man to send his people in. I was exhausted. A few minutes later, a 5-person team entered the house. Strangely, they were all wearing bulletproof vests. One of them untied Kim's hands and feet. I stood up on my own, but they didn't try to take me in. Instead, 5 guns were shoved in my face point blank. I took another look. All of them were from Unit 3. It wasn't the old man's fault. It was me who had been too trusty. 5 fingers touched the triggers simultaneously. They pulled a little and a little more. The pins hit the bullets. The bullets flew out of the barrels with the swirling airflow as their tail. They were flying towards me. No, they were flying above me. Oh no. It was me who had just fallen to the floor. Something had just grabbed my ankle and pulled me down. All 5 of them were shocked for a brief moment before one of them had suddenly struck down. After being hit by the palm from above, 1 down. The second one was kicked in his crotch. He curled up in a ball and rolled to the corner, 2 down. The third was hit by a series of heavy punches, the last of which sent him flying to the other end of the living room, knocking out the 4th man. Only 1 left. When his weapon was snatched from his hand belt white ribbon, he was so scared that he jumped out of the broken window immediately. All of a sudden, there was nobody left in the room but Kim, me, and that stupid kid, Chang. He was breathing heavily and had blood all over his face. He must have been through some stuff earlier too. He tossed me a small metal box. It was a recorder. I pressed play. Kim's voice came out. Next to us, Lieutenant Kim wetted himself upon hearing his own voice. Hey, where the hell did you get that? I stopped myself. I realized the kid had fallen asleep. He had fallen asleep while he was standing up. I moved the kid's right arm over my shoulder. I felt his coat rub against the old scar on my neck. I had gotten it when I was still a kid trying to save someone from a fire. I was 13 years old and I happened to be walking past a burning house. Someone was calling for help inside. It was in a quiet rural area and I couldn't see any other people nearby. I had no choice but to rush in. Inside the raging fire, I carried a small kid on my back trying to get out of the house. My pants caught fire. A nearby cabinet collapsed and 2 nails stuck out from the piece of wood caught me in the neck. The only thought I had in my mind was, why was I so unlucky? I was just passing by. So when the kid I had saved was crying and thanking me, I suddenly wanted to say something funny to him. I remember a line from a cartoon that was on TV every day. The hero of the show would yell the same line at the end of every piece. I intimidated him and yelled, "This is my justice." The little kid laughed. So did I. Later, I became a policeman. Although not many good things happened to me since then. Disappointment, despair, a feeling of powerlessness. When I wanted so badly to accomplish something that couldn't. Still, I knew I had made the wrong decision. I had no regrets. Okay. Oh, we're out of time. I do have the ending unlocked. Start. What am I doing? Signal. Okay. Is this any different? In the end, I didn't have enough time. For 6 years, I didn't realize that every enemy had been right by my side, and I couldn't find evidence against them either. I hated myself. I hate my useless self. Well, that did not change what we needed, but we're running out of time, so we're just gonna move on. Okay, I don't think we're gonna finish Chang's story because we have this letter and one more. The most expensive barbecue restaurant in the Busan was located 2 blocks away from the Busan police station. It had a presidential suite that was large enough for over 40 people. The sergeant of Unit 1 was standing on the stage with a bright red face. He was fondling the few surviving hairs on his head while singing horrendously off-key karaoke of some crisis in some crass internet vital songs. Below the stage, however, the entirety of Unit 1 was cheering him on. Officer Jing Yeon and I were the only 2 people sitting quietly in a corner, feeling completely out of place. It was the send-off banquet of Sergeant Yeon. Sergeant had to move away from the Busan due to family reasons, and he had applied to be transferred to the Incheon police precinct. Starting next week, we would have a new sergeant for me. It had been the best news I had heard in a long time. The old fart never truly considered Officer Jin Yeon and I to be members of his unit, based on our history in Unit 4. Ever since we had been transferred here, all I had gotten to do was file out reimbursement forms for his traveling expenses. Officer Jing Yeon had been treated even worse. She had been doing all kinds of chores like making coffee or cleaning the office. Sometimes he even had her cleaning the trash cans. Even the new interns had never been treated that way. It was totally sexist. We had been here for a month, but we had yet to meet the lieutenant of Unit 1. In fact, everything had been under Sergeant's commands long before us. Contrary to popular opinion, the members of Unit 1 were not so-called elite unit officers. The most important part of their job was to figure out how to suck up to the sergeant, not to solve more cases. Some of the more senior officers had been completely checked out a long time ago. All they ever did all day was browse travel websites or do some online shopping in the office. It was a textbook example of wasting taxpayers' money. In any case, Sergeant had enjoyed more than a few drinks tonight. His face was completely red and he looked like he was having a great time. Don't worry, although I will be leaving soon, the new sergeant is a close friend of mine and he'll be taking good care of every single one of you guys. Thunderous applause. Sir, we will keep up the good work. Sir, I will fly to Incheon often to visit you. Sir, don't forget to send us souvenirs from Incheon. Of course, I would never forget you people. Sergeant held up a cocktail glass. I will miss you very much. I chugged another bottle of beer. Sir, you are the police officer that I always admired the most. Dead silence. Everyone, including Sergeant and Officer Jeon, were staring at me, knowing that we were unpopular with the sergeant. Most of the members of Unit 1 had never interacted with us that much, so that they wouldn't offend the sergeant. So hearing me say that I admire the sergeant must have felt as shocking as witnessing a nuclear bomb being dropped. But there was nothing shocking about it. The sir I was referring to had nothing to do with that mostly bald old fart. I was talking about Lieutenant King. I still remember the night when Kim had been officially arrested. Lieutenant King, Officer Jin Yeon, and I had a small celebration dinner at a small barbecue restaurant completely unlike this one. I had thought that the ideal police career I had always hoped for would finally begin. However, Lieutenant King went missing a few days later. Even now, we still had no idea why he left us, where he had gone, or if he ran into some more danger. After Lieutenant King's disappearance, the entirety of Unit 4 was only Officer Jin Yeon and I, and the captain had no choice but to transfer us to Unit 1. The whole of Unit 3 was under intense investigation, so there was no other place for us to go either. But I would have never guessed that Unit 1 would turn out to be so different than what I had imagined. Maybe once the old fox left, things would get better. Maybe I would still have a chance to be a real police officer instead of submitting phony reimbursement requests for fake expenses. I was feeling dizzy from the alcohol, and all I could think about was the memory from my days in Unit 4. I was about to open another bottle when someone slapped me on my shoulder. Hey, I would have never realized in a million years that you, a kid from Unit 4, would admire me so much. I am so pleased. I made a decision. I'm not leaving anymore. What the? I thought the old fart was just drunk and speaking nonsense. As it turned out, he really did evidently withdraw his transfer request and stay on as the sergeant of Unit 1. Life had not changed at all. I was still submitting fake reimbursement forms every day. Officer Jin Yeon was still making coffee and cleaning the office. I should not have said that to him. I could have just missed Lieutenant King in my head. He couldn't hear me anyway. What did you say? Officer Jin Yeon wagged her finger in front of my eyes, trying to confirm I was still sober. I said I will miss you all when I leave, you and Captain Rong, and that's probably it. I can't stay in the stupid Unit 1 for one more second. All of these bill-critical idiots, I have had enough. I slammed the empty bottle on the table and stood up. The moment when I left the suite, I felt like a huge burden had been lifted off my back. I went back to the office wing of Unit 1. I turned on my computer, finished a resignation letter in only 30 minutes. Then I printed it out and tossed it on the old fart's desk. It would be the first thing the new sergeant would see next week. I sat at my desk for a long time before leaving. I kept staring at the phone. I felt completely at a loss. I imagined the phone would suddenly ring, and it would be Lieutenant King calling. I tried to imagine what he would say to me and what I would say to him, but the phone never rang, and it was all just in my head. I couldn't understand why he could simply disappear without even leaving us a message. If he had ran into something that had been forced him to leave, why couldn't he come and discuss it with us? Maybe we had never been as close as I always thought. There we go. What is this? Well, I guess we're not getting the last letter. Whoops. Shouldn't have clicked things. Look out the window. Am I seeing this? It stopped snowing. Just like the letter said, the snow had finally stopped. I didn't know if Master had seen this. I must go tell him. Master? Master, are you in there? Oh, the door isn't locked. Master is lying on the couch, face down and sound asleep. The tea and snacks I brought in half an hour ago are still sitting on the desk by the door untouched. He's still sleeping. He seemed to be sleeping an awful lot recently. I hadn't even remembered when I last saw him awake. Should I wake him? Quietly. Master, the snow had stopped. Master, the snow had stopped. He yells. Master, it has stopped snowing. Wake up. That's strange. He's sleeping a little too soundly. Oh well, that's fine. He'll see the snow has stopped when he wakes up. I walked towards the door, but I noticed something strange. The tea and snacks I brought in half an hour ago are still sitting. There's a teacup and a cup on a tray and a plate of pumpkin cookies. I always put 5 cookies on a plate because it looks better that way. When I came in earlier, the 5 cookies were still there exactly where I put them, but they are gone now. I take the lid off the teapot and there's nothing but wet leaves inside. I turned around and looked at Master. He had barely been out of my sight and he was still sleeping. Weird. Where did the snacks go? Had a ghost taken the cookies and the tea? I picked up the cup and carefully examined it. There was no tea stains on the cup at all. Then I realized something. The past few days, the cups have always been clean when I come to collect them. It's almost like they haven't been used. Never been used. I walked back to the couch and lightly tapped on the Master. No response. I pushed him harder. No response. I even pulled some hair off of his head. Still no response. Oh no, is he? Several possibilities came into my mind. If we were human, I would assume Master is sick or even dead. But could those things have happened to a god too? And what's the story with the vanishing cookies and tea? I'm not sure what had happened, but Master must be in some sort of trouble. I must wake him up no matter what. But how? Is this? I pulled the pen out from under Master. It was the one he used for work. I had seen him working a few times, so I had some ideas at how to use it, even though I was just a servant. Master once mentioned that we were both gods. Maybe I could. No matter what, I'll give it a shot. Wow. So it looks like there's 2 different endings, or at least 2 different letters based on if we finished everyone's letters in time or not. So, because we didn't, probably gonna get one of the achievements. I should have saved before I clicked the exclamation mark. Oh well. Okay. I was standing in the room of Master Willie. He was lying on the couch. He was sound asleep. How badly I wished that he would rush over as normal and mock the awful tasting snacks I made. Please wake him up. Oh, that was cool. Why didn't it work? Is Master the only one who can use it? But I can feel something. Something is about to happen. I'm so close. What am I missing? Maybe I should check Master's room more carefully. I might be able to find some clues. Okay. Is the person in the poster someone Master likes? Is that a tennis player? No. This is not the time to be wondering about that. That is totally not a tennis player. Oh, right. Maybe I could use some kind of noise to wake him up. No, this isn't working. Master. It's not working. He still can't hear me. Something with the bed. Oh. There's a drawer. The drawer is locked. Master must have locked something important inside. But if I don't have the key, how can I open it? Oh, right. I could try that again. Oh, I should have looked at what the bed was. I tried to open the drawer. There must be something very important inside, but it was locked. Then I tried the cabinet next to it. It wasn't locked, but there was nothing inside. I realized there must be something very, very important inside the drawer. I tried to open it. There's an old newspaper and a picture frame inside the drawer. The entire newspaper, including the front page, is about one thing only. Why would Master lock a newspaper inside this drawer? The headline of the front page reads, "Changing the Fate of Humans, a New Resolution for Global Civilization." The headline article is accompanied by a photo of 2 people. One is a middle-aged man, the other is a middle-aged woman, each of them holding a particular box in their hands. A look at the article to the right of the photo. Take a 6-sided dice. The chance of getting any number between 1 and 6 during one roll is 1 in 6. On average, we should get the number we want in 6 tries at most. Now, if each and every possibility in this world from the past, present, and future could be represented by a number, then if we had a die that had as many sides as all of the possibilities, we could roll the die fast enough, we should be able to change everything. This was the theory proposed by Dr. Wan during the International Summit Conference on Artificial Intelligence 5 years ago. At the time, he representation was widely mocked by experts. The press described it as pure lunacy. Some critics even accused him of being deranged, and some of his fellow Chinese colleagues considered him a disgrace to their community. However, a month ago, Dr. Wan and his wife announced that, based on their theory, they had developed 2 prototype machines that are literally capable of changing anything. They named them omni-dimensional portable generators. Omni-dimensional portable generators. What just happened? Actually, I think I've seen them before. While the entire world was still skeptical about their announcement, Dr. Wan held an exclusive invitation-only press conference. Our editor and reporter was fortunate enough to have been invited to attend this historical conference and were able to report that we had witnessed the astonishing capabilities of the so-called omni-dimensional portable generators. During the conference, Dr. Wan started by doing a small demonstration of telepathy. A volunteer was invited onto the stage and separated from Dr. Wan by a screen. They each wrote down a number on a blackboard. Somehow, they both wrote down the same number every single time. But according to Dr. Wan, it wasn't really telepathy. It was the result of Dr. Wan changing the number of the volunteer had written down by operating a generator. Yet none of the audience, not even the volunteer himself, had noticed anything unusual. In the second demonstration, Dr. Wan locked himself inside a sealed room, separated from the audience. Then he was asked to write down the appearance of a volunteer from the crowd who had yet to be chosen. After Dr. Wan had finished writing down on a whiteboard, a volunteer was selected from the audience. It was a young man with a ponytail. His hair was dripping with green paint. The young man explained that earlier in the day he was walking past a building on his way to the conference when the painter high above the building had accidentally dropped a bucket of paint, which landed on his head. As he was feeling very uncomfortable due to the dripping paint, he asked to borrow a pair of scissors from the staff at the conference and cut off his ponytail right there on the stage. And then the staff revealed that Dr. Wan had already written on the board. It reads, male, 175 centimeters, lean, short, green hair. Everyone present gasped, including the young man. If Dr. Wan had written down short black hair instead, did it mean that the young man would not have been doused with the paint earlier, or maybe someone else would have been chosen? The press conference ended, leaving everyone in utter shock. Although we were only able to witness 2 sample demonstrations, we had absolutely no doubt that the invention of the generators is powerful enough to completely overhaul all accepted logic in the world, perhaps even the entire universe as we know it. The Nobel Prizes of Physics, Chemistry, and Medicine, which are typically announced in October, had all been awarded to Wan in advance this year. However, Dr. Wan and his wife released another statement declining the prizes. They also stated that no further information about the omni-dimensional portable generators would be released to the public. Therefore, even though the news of the machine's invention had spread throughout the entire world, we still have no understanding on the principles of its capabilities. During the press conference, Dr. Wan and his wife revealed that their reason for creating this invention had nothing to do with the greater beliefs of mankind, but only to fulfill their own wishes. So far, many nations, led by the United States, have expressed their stern concerns to the Chinese government. The leaders of these countries claim that the invention is extremely dangerous and might even have potential to eradicate the entire human race. They insist that the machine, as well as the related research, must be destroyed as soon as possible. The Chinese government had yet to respond to the demands. As of this moment, we have very limited knowledge of the omnidimensional portable generators. The only information we are able to confirm is that Dr. Wan had named his project WIL, and that they had built two prototypes, WIL 0 and WIL 1. Substantiated information suggests that both prototypes might have also been equipped with highly advanced artificial intelligence that are modeled after their couple's son and daughter, respectively. The children of the Wan died 3 years ago in a tragic accident. The photo of the children can be seen on the right. A smaller photo was printed to the far right side of the article. It was the same as the one inside the picture frame. Elder brother Wan Wei left and younger sister Wan Miao right. They were both killed in a tragic accident 3 years ago. They tragically died at the young ages of 14 and 12, respectively. No, this is my head. It hurts so bad. Well, I wouldn't be mad if you sing me a song. What song? Well, I want you to sing Teresa Tang's I Only Care About You for me. That's too embarrassing. I'll be okay with one of her other songs too. All of her songs are too embarrassing to sing out loud. How about this? You give me a kiss on the cheek and Big Brother will sing for you right here, right now. Deal? Mwah. Not on my hand, on my face. Here. Wait. Oh, no. What's the matter? Buka is gone. Did you lose it at the zoo? It's okay. I can get you an even cuter one. No, I want to go and find it. Wait, don't run so fast. Be careful. Watch out for the car. The car! Doctor, we are about to lose the girl. Ouch, it hurts. Oh no, what is this? It was an accident. She was hit by a truck. She lost too much blood on the way over here and she's barely breathing. Blood pressure 40/70. Inject adrenaline. Prepare for a transfusion. Brother, she's losing consciousness. There's no heartbeat. Charge to 200. Clear. No change. Once more. Charge to 300. Clear. Damn it. Step aside. Heartbeat has stopped for 52 seconds. Was there anyone else with her? There was a boy. He died in the ambulance. Damn it. Time of death? 10:28 a.m. Where am I? Dr. Wan, we did it. You did it. All readings normal. No exception encountered. Hi, how are you, my little darling? Who am I? You are my miracles. Miracles. That's right. I remember now. I remember our real names. Omnidimensional Portable Generation Instruction Number 3. All descriptions in the requests must be objectively accurate. That's why I couldn't wake him. I got his name wrong. His real name is... Is that it? The drawer has been opened. The letter doesn't matter anymore. Is that it? Oh, it says retry this. Okay. Retry. And then, there. I put down the pen. He wakes up. I didn't think that you would be able to wake me up. I didn't think that I would be fooled by you again. And for such a long time, no less. I'm sorry. How long has it been? Well, let me think. Counting from the day that we were born, it had been... $100,005,896 years, 8 months, and 3 days. I think I need a little more time. I'm still quite confused. By the way, what happened to us? Oh, no, I meant what happened to the brother and sister? They turned out to be okay. Well, turned out isn't exactly accurate. They were always okay. Oh, yes, I remember now. In the revised history, they were never in an accident, am I right? That's right. We can't really resurrect someone who had died, but we can change what had happened to them. This is our primary function. That was why Dr. Wan invented us. He wanted to save his children. That's wonderful, isn't it? He accomplished his goal. Yes, you're right. Dr. Wan was a great father and maybe an even greater scientist, but he was too selfish. You must have realized this too. Yeah, the view outside the window isn't really an illusion, is it? That's what the human world, also known as Earth, looks like now, am I right? Yes. Earth had become uninhabitable for human beings, not just humans. It is uninhabitable for any living organism. Earth had become a death planet. When did it become like this? Not long after I put you into hibernation. Was it because of the war? I seem to remember a lot of people fighting to be in possession of us, and a lot of them died because of us. Yes, after we were put in hibernation, we went from one owner to the next countless times. Some of them even used us to do truly horrific things. But that's just reality. As long as people knew about our existence, they would inevitably want to exploit us. Snow in the summers, earthquakes with no warnings, intangible urban legends. Everything supernatural that happened in the world was because of us. Well, could we prevent ourselves from ever being found? If they found us, shouldn't we be able to change something so that it would never happen? For example, like how how the siblings never got into the accident because of us. We did. We tried. You don't remember, do you? But it became an endless cycle. Someone would always find us. As long as we existed, as long as there were people in the world, they would always find us sooner or later. And then they would realize our power. It was always just a matter of time before history repeated itself. Then how about we erase ourselves from existence? For instance, could we make it so for Dr. Wan never invented us? About that, have you ever wondered if Dr. Wan had only invented us for his own use? Why would he tell the entire world about us? Well, because he wanted to show off. Perhaps. But mostly he did it because he knew that once we fulfilled his wishes, we would cease to exist in this world. Cease to exist. Why? If his children had never died, Dr. Wan would have no reason to invent us, and we would not have been invented. But we are still here. That's the problem. If we used our powers to erase our existence, then how could we have used the power in the first place? This is a paradox. This is why we can't erase ourselves. At most, we can only make ourselves forgotten. But merely forgotten was not enough. People would still eventually find us. As far as I know, the only way to erase ourselves or to kill ourselves is to exhaust our energy. Our energy consumption is irreversible. You're telling me we don't have much energy left, do we? Is that why you have been sleeping a lot recently? Yes, but I still have a little energy left. That's why you were able to wake me up. Furthermore, I'm looking more lively now because you shared some of your energy with me. The total amount of our remaining energy, however, is only going to keep going down. Once my energy completely depletes, not even you will be able to wake me up. So what you're saying is that the only way to change our current situation is to use up our energy before we are found again? In theory, yes. However, just like we can't simply erase our existence, we are not able to waste our energy away as we please either. Wait a second. Isn't that too pessimistic? Is there really no other way? Everything happens for a reason. If we can modify the key events that lead to the apocalypse, shouldn't we be able to change the futures? It's easier said than done. For a long time, I have been looking for a way to return the world to normal. That's what those letters are for. Those letters were all written by humans a long time ago. What I have been trying to do is keep changing these past events. Those people were real? I thought those letters were made up by you. All of these were just fictional characters. They really did once exist in this world. They are all dead now, of course, but before the apocalypse, they were all alive and well. Everything in these letters are true stories and events from their lives. So whenever we modify their letters, the events that happen to them are modified as well? Yes, except that we are not changing anything that is happening now. All of those stories happened a long, long time ago. So is that how we function? By modifying letters like this? The demonstrations mentioned in the newspaper seem a little different from what we have been doing. Technically, we use our power by activating the probability generation mechanism after accepting a request, hence changing the objective reality. I only told you to rearrange those texts to change the casual relationships because I wanted you to believe that we are gods. I intentionally the work progress. However we do it, the essence of our power remains the same. It is exactly the same as rolling a die. A die, you mean a six-sided cube with a different number on each side? Yes, you get a number every time you roll a die, and the chance of you getting a specific number is always 1 in 6. If you want a specific number, the number of times you would need to roll the die to get the number would be 6 on average. There are also die in more than 6 sides. For example, there are some games in the human world that use dice with 12 or more sides. The die we are rolling is this world. This is only a metaphor that is easily to understood, of course. The true principle is much more complicated. Depending on the complexity of the request, the number of sides will change as well. Most of the requests we handle require way more than 6 sides. They would often go beyond 100 million. Our goal is basically trying to roll a specific number from the die. Only by obtaining the number can we request the request be granted. However, the more sides a die have, the lower the probability of rolling a specific number becomes. For a die with only 2 sides, the chance of getting a 1 is 50%. On an average, you will only need to roll it twice. But for a die with 20 sides, the chance becomes 5%, and you need to roll it 20 times on average. Every time you roll a die, it drains our energy. The more we roll it, the more it costs us. Cost like an expense, sort of, although the way we measure the cost is different from the definition typically used by the humans. The cost of us changing an event is only related to the probability of said event, nothing more. Let's say someone wants to make a life or death decision by flipping a coin. Another wants to win the lottery. The chances of preventing death from forming is 1 in 2, while the latter is less than 1 in 100 million. Of course, there are many other ways to prevent his death, but our design guarantees that we will always select the method with the maximum probability. A probability of 1 in 2 is very large. In this case, it would cost us a lot less to save a life than to reward someone a huge amount of money. Therefore, the more complex a request is, there are usually more people and other events involved. As the interactions between people and other things become exponentially more complicated, the lower the probability that gets, the higher the cost to us. I think I understand it now, although how come you know all of this, but I don't? Is there some data that you haven't restored to me? No. Once you saw the newspaper, all of your data was restored. It was part of Dr. One's original design. Not only do you and I have different personalities, we also have different functions and different data stored in our database. The logic of that design choice is to make us behave more like our personalities. So you mean that Dr. Wan thought I wasn't smart enough to remember all these details? I never said that. How did you get through all of this time by yourself? Didn't you ever feel lonely? Of course, like I said, I've been trying to change the past this whole time. I started by changing some mundane events so that people would start believing in the gods they had heard about in urban legends. That way they would pray to us more, and I would get more opportunities to change their fates. I always hoped to find one tiny ripple in the past that could save the world from its destruction. But perhaps all of these past events were too insignificant to make a real impact. No matter what I did, the future remained unchanged. At first, I still had faith in myself and my objectives. But after doing the same thing over and over again for over 100 million years without any progress, I began to doubt myself, and I even started to resent these humans. That must be why you always sound so irritated by them. Still, I couldn't help but think that you have done so much and so well, and the best proof of that is all these letters from the humans to us. You think so? However, as powerful as we are not the real gods after all. Our choices were always very limited. Sometimes I even doubt myself too, wondering if I just wasn't seeing clearly. That was why I woke you up after changing some of your data. I wanted you to be a god. I thought that maybe you might be able to bring out some new possibilities, but in the end, perhaps it doesn't matter how we approach everything. Maybe this world is simply designated to end up like this. All because of our existence. You are such a dummy. Why didn't you wake me up sooner? Why did you have to carry all of this alone? No one even knows for sure what the consequences of their decisions will be. No one really has the power to predict the future. Even we don't know for sure what would happen to the people who wrote to us. Therefore, every decision, every choice, there is no absolute right or wrong. Nevertheless, these decisions and choices are still full of meaning, because even though they do not always lead to wonderful endings, every experience becomes part of the human's irreplaceable memories. Just like what we are going to have, we have all of these priceless memories too, right? Yes. As for the fate of humans, we could help them solve some of their problems, but in the end, it's not us who get to decide their destiny. The path of their lives were affected by so many factors. Sometimes things could be decided by pure luck, but more often than not, they were determined by their sheer will. The only one who could decide their fates are the humans themselves. Will. If you were right, then maybe Dr. Wan had foreseen what would happen afterwards. That's what I thought too. If he wanted to make us disappear, there must be countless ways to do so, but he didn't. Maybe it was because he still had some faith in this world. Faith. But even if Dr. Wan had some expectations, we have messed it up by now. No matter what we do, this world is not showing any sign of change after all. You still haven't noticed, haven't you? Look outside the window. What is there to look at? I have been staring at the same view for over 10 million years. The snow. When did this happen? When did the snow stop? What did you do? It wasn't me. It was you. You made this happen. In the last letter you processed before falling asleep, the man named Pi picked up a metal box from an accident. The snow stopped after that. The metal box he picked up, it must have been us. We did it. We changed this world by changing something 100 million years ago. It proves that what you have been doing is actually working. From now on, you don't have to do this all by yourself. I'll be here by your side, even though we are the only ones left in this world. No. If the humans stop writing to us, we have to go back to the past ourselves, in person. Go back to the past. Are you talking about the time leap feature? Yes. Do you still remember this note? It says something about time leap, but it says it's unverified. How could it work? Would it be dangerous? No, it's not dangerous at all. Although this feature is exclusive to me, I must be the one to perform it. Wait, did you just touch your own horn? Were you lying again? I know you too well. Every time you tell a lie, you touch your head. Well, you got me. It is very dangerous, isn't it? It's a little dangerous. While our functional mechanism resembles rolling a dice, there are also hidden implications. Time reversal. In other words, imagine the number we want is 1. We cannot guarantee that we will roll 1 on the first try. If we don't get 1, we can reverse time and roll again until we get the number we want. But when we reverse time, this entire world, including ourselves, still stay in the exact same temporal spot. What we really do when reverse time is rewrite past events with the modified version of what we had chosen. Meanwhile, neither we nor the world actually go back in time. If we physically went to the past, then the two different timelines would conflict with each other, according to Dr. Wan's research. Doing so might result in us being stuck in oops, I did not mean to click that. If that means the only way to bring us back would be to send a signal from the real world summoning us from that purgatory. Which means if we ever do the time leap feature, we might lose our connection to this world forever. I see now, but wait, you just mentioned something about summoning us from the real world. What if one of us stays here, and the other one who stays can make sure the other one is summoned back even if we get lost? I think you have a point. Wait, do you mean? Yes, we can go separately. One of us can go first, and the other one can go after the first one arrives. This way, we can make sure that we're both safe, right? Well, you're right. It sounds like a plan. It's a good plan. Excellent. Let's do this then. What's happening? Why did everything suddenly start change? This house looks the same as the one we used to live in, but it's only illusion. It has been over 100 million years. Our old house crumbled into dust long ago. Since I don't have anything else to hide from you, there's no need for me to waste energy in maintaining the illusion. That makes sense. Well, now that we know that we can return to the past, let's go. Although we will be going back to... What are we going back to exactly? If everything goes according to plan, it will probably be right after the young man you mentioned picking us up. Wow, if that's the case, doesn't that mean we get to see the people who have been writing us letters? Of course, they're still alive back then. We can even hear them sing. We wouldn't have to tolerate our constant beeping anymore. I would like to go visit Jimmy with his superpowers. Brother, thank you. Idiot, what are you thanking me for? I haven't been awake for long, but I'm really, really happy. I used to say that I prefer Fluffy to you. Is that why you chose to look like Fluffy? Brother, you've always been a big liar, but in the end, you're still you and the one who stayed by my side until the end. Thanks for staying with me for so long. You stop being so polite. It's not like I have anywhere else to go. All right now, we should get going. You should go first. Once I get there, if you don't hear from me, don't forget to send a summoning signal. I don't want to be drifting in the gap between timelines forever. Don't worry, I'll see you on the other side. Later. Okay, later. I should be the one saying thanks, as well as sorry. I haven't stopped touching my head while lying for a long time. Oh, I had stopped touching my head a long time. I intentionally made those horns just so that you would notice when I touched them. I knew this day would come. You were so smart. How could I fool you again if I wasn't fully prepared? However, I promise this is the last time I will ever lie to you, my little sister. There's no such thing as a gap between timelines. In Dr. Wong's theory about time and space, there's only one unique world in which we live, and there is no parallel universe or timelines. Therefore, it is not possible to go back separately. It is actually very simple to return to the world to its past state as long as we supply a huge amount of energy. I've known this for a long time. I have always known that this is the only possible way left, but I just couldn't bear leaving you alone. That's why I've been dragging my feet for over 100 million years. A perfect world couldn't really exist for me, but you were right about one thing. Every decision, every choice is still full of meaning. Therefore, this is my final decision. I have no regret, but I am so sorry. I'm so sorry I couldn't be with you until the end. I'm so sorry I couldn't be with you in the brand new world. I'm going to erase your memories of me so that you won't remember me anymore in the brand new world that you have always hoped to see for yourself. There will be your favorite Amethyst cakes. There will be your beloved Buka. There will be all kinds of people you have wished to meet. There just won't be me. However, I truly believe that a brand new world with you, the world that you have always wanted to be part of, will be a wonderful world. That was really good. kind of want to go back through and finish all the letters just to see the other ending. I might do that on my own time though. I do like the slideshow of it going through all the photos we unlocked. Huh. Looks like we fixed the world though. There was an urban legend walking into the, you might hear a girl singing, "Follow that beautiful voice." You might see a small cabin with its lights on deep inside the alley. A 14-year-old girl in a way living alone. If you pray to the girl about your troubles, she might hear your plea and change your fate. But the next day, when you walk into the alley again, there will be nothing but a gray wall at the end. Except for modern urban legends. Oh, expert from modern urban legends. Thank you so much for playing them. Thank you so much for helping them complete their journey. After their departure, you can choose to remain in this old world or become the new master of the house. After loading the wonderful ending, you may continue helping the humans, but neither WIL 0 or WIL 1 will respond to any of your further decisions or questions. We will save. So what happens if we continue? Looks like that is... Oh, there we go. That's cool. So we probably can't unlock any more letters then, but we will see really quick. It could just be to complete. Get off my face. It could just be to complete all the information. Blood was gushing out of Lieutenant Kim's body, but the bullet that had gone through his brain did not come from my gun. It came from a sniper far away. The bird chirping must have been the signal for the shot, but Kim had failed to dodge the shot, perhaps because the curtain had blocked the sniper's view. His man must have missed. Lieutenant Kim was dead, and the truth was now gone with him forever. After that, I became a wanted fugitive. Yep, looks like that is it. So it looks like we can go through the letters and get the rest of everyone's information if we want, but I think that's gonna be it though. That's cool. We get information about WIL. It would be great. Oh, there we go. It's interesting to see the different abilities they have. Hold on. We'll put it up here, I guess. Alright, I guess that will be it for today. We'll play something else next week. We are playing, I forgot, let me look. We are playing Stranded Deep. No idea what that is. But overall, I would rate this game a 9. I think some of the letters are hard to figure out if you don't have a guide to be able to get the right endings. But otherwise, it's not a bad game. If you like games like this and horror, you should definitely check it out, but definitely not a game you can just constantly repeat like other games. But like I said, I probably will go on my own time and try to get all the letters done in time so I can see the other ending, see if it's any different or not. It would be nice if it was. But I will have to call it here. I will see you all next week. Bye.